And then we talked earlier, we mentioned neuroinflammation, and that really is the hidden threat behind anything that is happening in your brain. So you've heard about inflammation in your joints, your gut, or maybe your heart. But what about inflammation in your brain? Inflammation is one of the most overlooked drivers of brain fog, memory problems, cognitive decline, anything related to the brain, anxiety, and most people have no idea it's even happening because neuroinflammation, it's your brain's immune response to threats, toxin stress, poor diet, infections, or cellular damage. In small doses, it's protective. It's supposed to be there. It's a mechanism that is helpful. It helps clear debris and repair damage. But when it becomes chronic, like having that fire alarm that just never shuts off, your brain cells become damaged, communication breaks down, and your cognitive function suffers. And so here's what chronic brain inflammation actually does. It disrupts the neurotransmitter production. So you can't focus and your mood suffers, your motivation tanks. It damages the blood-brain barrier. So toxins that should stay out get in, causing more inflammation. It triggers microglial activation. That's your brain's immune cells, and it attacks healthy neurons. And it impairs mitochondrial function. Your brain cells can't produce enough energy. So that equals brain fog and anything else that you're experiencing right now in your head. The hidden sources, neuroinflammation doesn't come out of nowhere. So the common triggers include gut dysfunction. So we talked about leaky gut equals a leaky brain, hormone imbalances, chronic cortisol, insulin resistance, and declining estrogen can shift inflammatory signaling. Environmental toxins, so heavy metals, pesticides, and mold, poor diet, sugar, processed food, and inflammatory oils, nutrient deficiencies, especially things like omega-3s and antioxidants. We talked about minerals. Chronic infections, even old ones that you don't know about. Sometimes you had got an infection when you were really little, and it's just a low-grade infection that's just under the radar, and you don't even really realize that you have it. But the good news is when you address the triggers, neuroinflammation can be extinguished. Your brain has no pain receptors, which is why they can do brain surgery while you're awake, which I would not volunteer for. But you can't feel inflammation in your brain the same way as a twisted ankle. So instead, you experience it like brain fog, poor memory, difficulty concentrating, mental fatigue, mood changes. And by the time you notice the symptoms, the inflammation has likely been building for months or years. So a symptom is a signal that something is going on, but that something didn't just necessarily happen overnight. So left unchecked, chronic neuroinflammation follows a predictable path. First, it'll be occasional brain fog, mild forgetfulness, mental fatigue, and possibly you're here. Then it leads to consistent cognitive struggles, noticeable memory loss issues, significant cognitive impairment, daily function might be affected. And then finally, you get to a full-on neurodegenerative disease such as Alzheimer's or dementia or something else. Standard blood work doesn't detect neuroinflammation, but using alternative labs, you can detect things like mineral balance, microbiome balance, hormone levels, toxin levels, fat metabolism, methylation issues, autoimmunity against brain tissue. There are tests to really try to figure out what's going on in pretty much anything that you are interested in. But these are all things to get to the issues underlying brain health. The good news about brain health is that the brain is highly adaptable and responsive to support. The brain responds quickly to support. Small changes create noticeable improvements, and you don't need perfection, just direction. Brain health is dynamic and influenceable. And your path forward is really simple. Identify your main driver, support your energy, not the symptoms, but as a whole, we're going to support your body, the energy. We want to test, don't guess, and work with a clear framework. Simple steps will equal and consistent support will yield lasting changes. So moving forward, how I identify and address the primary drivers feeding brain dysfunction and neuroinflammation, I have what I call the neurometabolic framework. It's a 3-step process. It's science-backed, personalized approach. It's designed for real, lasting brain transformation. And the results are clarity, memory, energy, and presence. You wouldn't buy parts for your car without first popping open the hood, but that's exactly what people are doing with their brain health. They're buying supplements randomly. They're trying different diets. They're Googling symptoms and hoping that something sticks. Your body isn't a mystery, but it is a system. And when something isn't working, the first step isn't just to throw parts at it. So it's to take a look inside to see where the energy is getting lost. And that's what the initial reveal consultation is for. It's simply opening the hood, asking the right questions, and figuring out what information we actually need before doing anything else. This one step alone saves people months, sometimes years, of trying things that don't make sense for their body. So first, the first step is the reveal, where we reveal deficiencies and interferences. And the purpose of testing is to identify those root drivers, see patterns, not isolated numbers, map energy leaks, and understand priorities. Testing gives us direction whether you're navigating or optimizing. Navigate hidden issues when symptoms appear, optimize longevity when things feel fine, see how your body is using what you're already giving it, reveal patterns across multiple systems, and turn data into a personalized strategy. And so testing helps when something is wrong and when nothing seems wrong yet. All the people out in social media who are like biohackers or longevity gurus or whatever, they're testing all the time, even though you're like, wow, they seem like really healthy, because they want to make sure that your health should be going in a trajectory. They want to make sure they want to course correct as soon as possible. They don't want to wait until they're like way out here, because course correcting then becomes a big chore. Possible, but it's just harder work. Testing will give you clarity, confidence, and direction. Testing allows us to see oxidative stress, mineral ratios, gut inflammation, toxin exposures, mitochondrial strain, methylation capacities, autoimmune markers. There's so many different alternative tests out there that you can really find out a lot about your body. And when we see patterns, the next step becomes obvious, because then we can restore. And so restore, we remove hidden stressors, we replenish depleted nutrients, and then we repair damaged systems. And this is where the transformation happens. This is where we begin to restore cellular function, brain function, system function. We create the foundation that your body can maintain long-term. We look at what's blocking energy production, things like toxins, inflammation, oxidative stress, and we gently remove those drains. At the same time, we rebuild what has been depleted: minerals, antioxidants, essential fats, mitochondrial support. We're not just putting Band-Aids on symptoms. We are addressing the root cause of why energy isn't flowing and why your brain feels overloaded or foggy. And then we reinforce that through nervous system and mind-body balancing and brain connectivity practices, we can reinforce those brain connections if that's what it's needed. We do a lot more of this with the children with the brain connectivity, because we're focused on neurodevelopment. But people, as they age, they can lose some of that connectivity, and we might have to work on that as well. But the nervous system and mind-body balancing, we actually can be doing simultaneously with the restore. So the neurometabolic framework, this is how we build a brain and body that can perform, think, and recover for years to come. So the initial reveal, everything you learned explains why the brain struggles, but now we need to know where your system is struggling. How inflamed are your cells? How resilient is your metabolism? How much stress is your body actually experiencing? And that's what we have to reveal first, because you can't restore what you haven't identified. So what I use in this initial reveal phase is a comprehensive metabolic and cellular stress profile to map what's happening beneath the surface before the symptoms turn into a diagnosis. This becomes the starting point of my neurolongevity process. So my initial reveal lab package includes a metabolic health lab test, a thorough review of your symptoms and history, your health history, where you fill out some questionnaires. So it's pretty thorough and in-depth. And then we identify likely energy drains, and it's basically opening the hood to see what's going on. So we're going to start with clarity and not guesswork. And the test is 6 key biomarkers linked to chronic disease and longevity, looking at metabolic and inflammation vulnerability, metabolic malnutrition, and mitochondrial function and toxins. And once we have your results, we sit down together, we review your symptoms, comprehensive health history, we look at stress patterns, lifestyle habits, and past attempts. We identify the most likely energy drains and decide the most strategic way forward.